Talk about the charge that Naresh Bhatt is currently facing in Mamta's disappearance and what happens if they don't find her body. Hi, I'm Kona. In case you haven't been following along, I host a podcast called And Then They Were Gone about unsolved missing persons cases. I also live in the area where Mamta lives, and so this is a local case for me. I've been following it, and you can see all of the videos below on the timeline. Tomorrow, August 26th, Naresh Bhatt has a bond hearing for his charge that he's being held on, which is concealing a dead body. This is the actual statute. Any person who transports, secretes, conceals, or alters a dead body with malicious intent and to prevent detection of an unlawful act or to prevent the detection of the death or the manner of cause of death is guilty of a Class 6 felony. So let's talk about the Class 6 felony part of this. A Class 6 felony is the least serious type of felony and can be downgraded to a misdemeanor after a trial. What you see here are some examples of Class 6 felonies. Now, if you watched my live that I did after his arraignment or the recap video that I made, then you know that the discussion of whether or not Naresh is a flight risk was a big part of it. The prosecution said that he was because his and his baby's passports were out in plain sight, the house was in disarray, and he had packed. He had also sold his car, and he was in talks to sell his home. However, the defense said that basically the police took so long to execute those search warrants that if he had wanted to leave, if he had wanted to abscond and take off, he could have. He had plenty of time to do it, but he didn't. So they're trying to say that's why he's not a flight risk. The defense attorney also brought up his pretrial assessment, which gave him a score of 91%, meaning that he has a 91% chance of showing up to trial if let out on bond. Now, the defense has already said, look, take his passport if you're worried about it. You can even do GPS monitoring. You know, the defense is trying to give options to kind of hit a middle ground between keeping him in jail as he awaits trial and just completely letting him go. What I want to say is that there's a fairly decent chance that Naresh will be granted bond tomorrow, in my opinion, because this is such a minor charge. I don't think that people are often remanded on Class 6 felonies, so I would not be shocked if he was granted bond. Now, I've been saying that there are going to be larger charges coming, and the defense, from what they were saying at the arraignment, seems to expect that as well. However, I think a lot of those are going to be based on the testing of the blood evidence that was recovered from the home, and that takes time. So it's unlikely that they have any of those results yet, meaning that it's unlikely that they're going to be able to make those additional charges tomorrow, for instance. So there's a good chance that Naresh will be let out of jail and will await trial on this charge as the prosecution's building their case on other charges. But when they do bring those larger charges, including probably homicide against Naresh, assuming that, you know, the evidence that they found actually is blood and it is Mamta's blood, no, they don't need a body. No body homicide cases aren't super common, but they actually have, when they are brought to a jury, they actually have a really high conviction rate. One of the more famous recent examples is Kristen Smart. That was a 20-plus-year-old homicide, and Paul Flores was convicted of her murder without disclosing where her body was. So it absolutely can happen. Not finding the body, him not giving that up, does not mean that he'll go free if the prosecution builds a good enough case otherwise. Again, that part is just my speculation, but I am going to be at the bond hearing tomorrow, so I will do the same thing that I did after the arraignment. I'll go live afterwards. I've tagged the live event here, so you can register for that. Timing is going to be approximate because it really just depends on when I get out there, when the hearing's over, but I will be going live after that, so be sure to join me.